Hello everyone, Perse7 here, back with some more Bloons Tower Defense 6. On this week of Bloonarius, which happened to be uncarbed, we are trying out Super Buff Crossbow Master versus Bloonarius. Crossbow Master will also be the first Dart Monkey I have done, and probably the only Dart Monkey I'll do. Miles Monkey Fan Club on its own is kind of meh, and also Sister Monkey Fan Club for like tier 1 defense is also kind of meh. You know, Crossbow Master, you know, people call it, you know, one of the most overrated towers, like along with like XBM, and not XBM. Along with like Elite Defender, kind of falls under that, like, you know, incredibly overrated towers, which I do kind of agree with, as, you know, Crossbow Master does fall off heavily on like rounds 80 plus, simply just because it doesn't really do all that well against Super Ceramics, which is the only thing you'll be seeing past round 80, so it definitely does struggle a lot there. Its mob damage, I guess, is okay, but there are better options for chimps that also do pretty decently against Super Ceramics as well, so not really used to often in Pop and chips. I mean, you can. I did it with Homeland, and of course XBM and Churchill and all that. Anyways, yeah, Crossbow Master is definitely one of those towers that is just it's there. That's really all I can say about it, as it's really just kind of a tower, you know. It excels, you know, like from like rounds 1 to 80, but rounds 81 to 100 it just is garbage. Anyways, let's talk some stats for the Crossbow Master. Basically what it does, it increases the Dart Monkey's base attack speed to 0.16 seconds, so that's basically 6.25 seconds per shot, and a critical hit every 5 shots instead of every 10 shots from, of course, Sharpshooter. Range equal to 240% of a 0-0 Dart Monkey. Also, if you don't know what critical hits do, basically whenever Crossbow Master crits, I think it does like 50 damage every time it crits. It's one of the few towers that can actually crit. The only other tower that I can think of is Robo Monkey, and that was actually like before a buff it received a while back. So for a while, Crossbow Master used to be unique, and it was the only tower that could crit. Of course, Robo Monkey's crit isn't really as strong. I think the crit for Middle Path, the Robo Monkey, is 5, while Crossbow Master and Sharpshooter I think is like 50. I think it's that. I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, it increases the projectile speed, also increases the pierce of each shot to 8. And you gain 6 pierce when you upgrade to sharp shots and 7 with razor sharp shots. And of course, Crossbow Master does allow the Dart Monkey to pop every Bloon type, so it changes the Bloon type from, I think it's sharp to normal. Thankfully, tier 1 defense with Crossbow Master is pretty easy. Since it's so cheap, you can easily save up, you know, like 27,000 just to easily be able to afford Crossbow Master. And Crossbow Master with light buffs, you know, easily takes down Bloonarius for kind of tier 1 defense. I remember when when Elite Bloonarius first came out, and I was trying to actually, you know, beat it without like using guides or anything. Back when I didn't really know what I was doing, what I kind of do for like, you know, tier 1 defense, what I was trying to do is I figured that, you know, since Paragons take, you know, pops and all that to kind of be good and everything, I figured that I'd just go for like a heavily buffed Dart Monkeys for tier 1 and 2, and farm hard enough for tier 3 to afford like a high degree Apex Blastmaster. I figured that would work out really well, and that combined with like a high degree, you know, Glaive Dominus would beat Elite Bloonarius. And you should see my face when I realized that, yeah, both of them together don't really do that great against Elite Bloonarius, so I just kind of gave up on that and went for VTSG. I was a bit disappointed, you know, kind of seeing that, as I figured that, you know, oh, we have towers to target specifically and beat bosses, and even like 2 Paragons, like, you know, Dart and Boomer, just wasn't enough to beat like Bloonarius on like Monkey Meadow. Anyways, Crossbow Master again, pretty easy tier 1 defense. It's nothing too surprising there. Again, for tier 2, basically pretty much the same story here. Going for like a heavily buffed, or I wouldn't say heavily, I'm definitely throwing a lot more buffs in Crossbow Master than I did for tier 1. So I figured that in terms of, I guess, importance for buffs, I should probably go for like Overclock and Homeland, as that benefits Crossbow Master the most, as of course with the increased attack speed comes increased amount of crits, which I fear that the crits are going to be what determines if I can kill Bloonarius for tier 5 or not, as Crossbow Master already does like decently high damage, so I figured that it's probably buffing the damage buffs don't really benefit as much as attack speed buffs, because the, you know, crits do 50 damage per shot, which is a whole lot of damage, so I kind of want to maximize the amount of crits I'm getting, so therefore, you know, attack speed buffs like, you know, Homelands and Ultra Boost are definitely going to be top priority over something like, you know, Perma Brew, which increases attack speed slightly and also gives like +1 damage and, you know, +1 damage to mob class balloons, which isn't really too useful here, as again, like I said, Crossbow Master already does decently high damage. So basically, it was just getting as much attack speed as I can for tier 2. But I mean, looking at the damage that Crossbow Master is doing, it's not actually all that bad. With Overclock and just, you know, Call to Arms, it's shredding Bloonarius, you know, fairly well. I do have high hopes for this tower. For, you know, tier 5 of Bloonarius, I figured that it definitely can do this, especially combining, you know, Crossbow Master does have large range, which is something that, you know, WLP did struggle with it a bit, although WLP was fortunately able to overcome its range issue with just kind of, you know, the fact, you know, the ability is also global range, and this map is just so long that, you know, WLP just was able to just kind of slowly chip away at its health. And as you can see, you know, I honestly think that, you know, Crossbow Master is actually doing a lot more damage than, you know, WLP was for tier 2. Kind of a bit, you know, upsetting, you know, kind of seeing this, or I shouldn't really say upsetting, but just kind of funny seeing this, like, you know, like a 30k tower was just kind of doing more than a 50k tower. Of course, you know, looking over here, we'll have like over 70k in support with, you know, Homeland, and of course Overclock, but even still, it is just kind of slightly disappointing. Anyways, I just get a Chinook to just, you know, Chinook Crossbow Master over to the other side. I just had to do that just kind of a bit to make sure that, you know, Crossbow Master is always in range. I do want to kill Bloonarius as fast as possible. Ignore the fact that I overclocked a sentry. I want to kill Bloonarius as fast as possible, as it allows me to focus on farming as fast as possible. If you saw for WLP, I couldn't really farm as efficiently as I had before, so just because the longer it takes for me to kill Bloonarius, that kind of delays my farms even more. So thankfully this was a pretty speedy kill. I did have enough time to, you know, farm efficiently for for the rest of the tiers. You know, getting Banana Central on like round 67 is not bad. Alright, so arriving at tier 3, we got ourselves an Ultra Boost, a primary expertise, as well as a Homeland Defense. Basically, I figured that this was probably going to be all I was going to need for tier 3. Start getting Ultra Boost a little bit early so I can actually get stacks on Ultra Boost, as well as start overclocking Banana Central if I need to. Going to start working on my Perma Brew, just kind of a bit in a second here. So I figured that, you know, at this point I do have enough money that I can kind of splurge on defense. Looking for tier 3, looking at the damage, it's not really all that great, seeing as, you know, how kind of well it did for tier 1 and 2. It is starting to slow down and lose a bit of steam for this third tier. But to be fair, we don't really have all 10 stacks yet, and we still kind of are missing just kind of a bit more in support, being, of course, you know, Energizer as well as True Sun God buff, which I feel like True Sun God probably would do decently with Crossbow Master, just because it's True Sun God. I think True Sun God is probably one of the most powerful buffs in the game. I guess Ultra Boost would probably be second. I'm getting kind of my damage adders here just to do and squeeze out a bit more damage. I do think that damage adders like, you know, Cripple Mob and Super Brittle would do amazingly with Crossbow Master. Simply just because Cripple Mob I think does +5, or it's like either +5 or +4, and Super Brittle I think is also either +5 or +4 damage, and you know, that's actually quite a lot of damage. You know, that's either 8 or 10 damage is doing, and, you know, 8 or 10 damage, I think that's like doubling Crossbow Master's damage, which is pretty good. Double damage is an amazing thing. Also, before you ask, no, I will not be going for 2 Crossbow Masters. I want to see how well Crossbow Master does for a solo test. So I will only be getting 1 Crossbow Master, even though it's probably like, well, why didn't you get 2? I mean, I'm pretty sure 2 Crossbow Masters could easily beat Bloonarius, but I want to see how well 1 Crossbow Master does. You know, I was kind of looking at like the streams of darts that, you know, Crossbow Master shooting. It's like kind of satisfying, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It is like satisfying, like, you know, seeing all those darts and then seeing, like, you know, Bloonarius' health just kind of like smoothly going down. It's like you kind of don't even notice the fact that, you know, Crossbow Master's crits. I did going into this, I kind of expected Crossbow Master's crits to like kind of make a huge jump in terms of damage, just because, you know, 50 damage compared to what the 8 damage that Crossbow Master does is quite a lot. So I figured that, you know, we'd see some noticeable jumps in kind of the damage that he's doing, but Crossbow Master is easily just kind of smoothly doing damage to Bloonarius. So skipping forward quite a bit here, Crossbow Master, you know, is taking its sweet time when it does come down to popping this tier of Bloonarius. So I kind of do notice that, you know, now they've kind of, well, I haven't really exhausted all the good towers, so I'm kind of using all the unconventional DPS towers. I do think that next I might actually do Pop and Awe, or Avatar or Wrath for the next tiers of Bloonarius. And also do want to retry Ray of Doom, because I did do Ray of Doom kind of a while back, but I deleted the video, so unfortunately you won't be able to see that one. So for tier 4, I was able to kind of grind enough money in order to afford all the support I kind of needed for tier 4, so I figured might as well go for it. Not really delay our true Sun God. Kind of see the immense damage that Crossbow Master and the immense range that Crossbow Master has at the current moment, and see just how well he's going to be doing against, the final tier of Bloonarius. Looking at the damage of tier 4, it's actually not really that bad. Homeland of course making a huge difference, but like even when Homeland is off cooldown, Crossbow Master still is doing fairly decent amounts of damage. Something I do notice about towers that don't beat Bloonarius is that they do amazing damage when Homeland's active, but the damage they do when Homeland isn't active is pitiful to say the least. But even when Homeland is active, obviously it shreds, but when it isn't active, I think it does pretty alright. Tier 4 actually went down, is going down pretty quickly so far. It's only round 103 and we're almost to killing it. So I think Crossbow Master does have high hopes for the last tier of Bloonarius. Although, do have to remember, we don't have any other support options left for kind of this for tier 5 Bloonarius, so this is the max amount of damage that Crossbow Master was going to be doing. We could use Geraldo's Jar of Pickles, but the thing about Geraldo's Jar of Pickles is that it's actually going to be a negative damage increase just because the +1 damage, you gain +1 damage, but you lose attack speed. So that's not really going to be helping us out in this instance, just because Crossbow Master is already doing an insane amount of damage. If it was only doing like 2 damage, sure, I would use it. But since it's not like doing a little amount of damage, the attack speed decrease is definitely going to be a hurt more than it is going to help. Alrighty, so tier 5 of Bloonarius is here, and time to see if Crossbow Master is able to take down Bloonarius once and for all. Hopefully being able to join all the other towers that have been able to beat Bloonarius so far. Looking at the damage that Crossbow Master is doing, it's not the greatest, but it's not really actually all that bad. I do think that on any other week, I don't think Crossbow Master would be able to do this, but looking at him carved, it seems like he has a shot. As the damage he's doing, it's slow, but I think this map is long enough that Bloonarius might be able to reach the exit, like after Crossbow Master kills it. Well, I guess if Crossbow Master does kill it, it won't really be reaching the exit anyways. But kind of shinooking my super brittle around, just trying to extract as much damage as possible. One buff I did forget about that might actually affect the results of this test is I kind of forgot Geraldo's Fiery Potion. Fiery Potion is definitely kind of it's a buff I forget that exists, if I'm being honest. I did use it for WLP, but I completely forgot about it for Crossbow Master. Again, it's just something I never really used that often, simply because I don't really use Geraldo that often. So hopefully that doesn't really make too much of a difference. I don't think it will, but who knows. Maybe that Fire Potion will be just the thing that pushes Crossbow Master over to winning or losing. The bats that Bloonarius spawns are going to be a bit of an issue. I thought, Crossbow Master was going to be able to shred, but if you saw that bat there, it got surprisingly far before Crossbow Master was able to kill it. So it kind of had me worried for Skull 3 as Bloonarius is going to be very far along the track for it. And Crossbow Master may not have enough time in order to actually beat that last bat. And also remember, you have to worry about the AI rounds as well. If Crossbow Master does kill the AI rounds a bit too quickly, he'll eventually run out of time and not be able to kill Bloonarius before the time runs out. You do have a rounds limit. I do believe that once round 140 hits, if Bloonarius is still alive, you automatically lose, simply just because he took too long. This isn't something you'd notice playing Bloonarius regularly, just because when you're beating Bloonarius, I kind of assume that most people aren't going to be doing so little damage that Bloonarius will have time to exit. And simply just because Bloonarius usually exits the map before, Bloonarius usually exits the map before the round even has a chance to take over. It's around 140 anyways. So that is not something that happens, but I think that was discovered, I think on when it was on Cracked that one week. I think that was discovered where if you did take too long to kill Bloonarius, you will just automatically lose, even if Bloonarius is almost dead. Switching the Crossbow Master targeting from strong to first, even doing that, it kind of is a bit scary. Of course, the second bad was going to be easy, but this last bad is definitely going to be a huge issue for Crossbow Master. As Crossbow Master is going to need a bit of time in order to beat that last bad that's going to be on the screen. So skipping over to when the last bad spawns, as you can see, Bloonarius is really far among the track. If you do have an eagle eye and notice Crossmaster does have the jar pickle buff, don't ask me why I gave it to him. That was kind of a mistake on my part. I didn't actually Chinook Crossbow Master there for some reason. I kind of figured that, you know, Crossbow Master's range is insane and you do pretty well. I got Superstorm in the back, but that didn't really help out too much. Of course, we're not going to let it end there. We're definitely going to be restarting tier 5 because there is some optimization I can do. First off, as you can see here, I did add the Geraldo fire buff, so that way Crossbow Master does have a bit more damage to be able to do to Bloonarius. So hopefully with that extra damage to Bloonarius, hopefully Crossbow Master will have a bit more time to kill that BAD, or that last BAD that Bloonarius is going to spawn. And hopefully the kind of fire also does help kind of beat the final bad that spawns. I do believe that Geraldo's fire potion is affected by, you know, attack speed buffs like, you know, Homeland and whatnot. As I do, it's kind of weird how it's counted. It is counted by a sub tower, so it is, you know, buffed as, so it's buffed by like external attack speed buff, but I don't think it's buffed by buffs like Permabrew. Fast forwarding kind of a bit, I did Chinook Crossmaster kind of far enough away, so hopefully you know, Crossmaster is able to beat that last bad. I didn't actually refresh the fire buff for whatever reason. Also, issue kind of here is Crossmaster is out of range of True Sun God, so I am losing that damage buff that True Sun God does provide. I was kind of worried about that last bad, so I got I got up Superstorm, and hopefully Crossmaster was able to pop down the last bad. But unfortunately, he just wasn't.